Now, let's end today with this story. This is the Propaganda and Focus website, Piers Robinson's website, or one website that he contributes to at least. The tragedy of Yulia Skripal. This is an article by Tim Norman. Now, Tim Norman has written an article we've published on the Skripal case. For anybody that doesn't remember, of course, Sergei and Yulia Skripal allegedly poisoned by the Russian government with novichok, a so-called nerve agent in Salisbury. This was a massive story at the time. So if you just put that back on screen for a second and have a look at some of the text here, it says the effect of novichok poisoning is an important part of the tragedy of Yulia Skripal, but not because it killed her or her father, because of course it didn't. Rather, Tim says it made them both vanish. Like Yulia, Sergei disappeared after his alleged exposure to and recovery from this deadly nerve agent. And like Yulia, no one can ask Sergei about what happened to them. Now, it is a fact that the last time we mentioned the Skripal case on UK Column News, one or two people that hadn't been watching UK Column at the time were a little surprised, a little taken aback that we were suggesting that this was a fake event. So if we put that back on screen, we'll look at the next next paragraph here, because this sort of sums up the situation. The military-grade poison, this is Novichok, did not seem to have an effect on either of them, that's Yulia or Sergei, for several hours. Sergei, this is following exposure. Sergei drove them into the city centre where they fed ducks on the River Avon. There they passed quite close by the two. They were passed quite close by the two Russian secret agents who poisoned them, as their would-be assassins had apparently decided to take the opportunity to do a bit of window shopping in Salisbury after carrying out their orders, rather than leaving the city immediately. Yulia and Sergei then went to a restaurant and a pub. It was after this, while they were walking in a shopping area of Salisbury called the Maltings, that the nerve agent that had supposedly been separately exposed to a few hours earlier dramatically entered their bloodstreams. They had apparently had time to sit on a public bench in the Maltings as they were almost simultaneously overcome together by its powerful effects. And the article goes on to say, fortunately for them, the British Army's most senior nurse happened to be passing by with her daughter, and they gave Yulia and Sergei first aid. The coincidences here are off the charts. Tim goes on to say this, goes on to talk about Dawn Sturgis, who of course died a couple of days later, and also allegedly poisoned by Novichok having her boyfriend having picked up a perfume bottle apparently, and her thinking that it was perfume. So the article says the Sturgis family have been fighting ever since for an inquest to find out how the events in Salisbury led to Dawn's death. And after Dawn's daughter won legal case against the coroner's initial judgment, the UK government converted the inquest into a public inquiry so that it could hide evidence from them in the name of national security. And this is all well referenced, so do click on the links that are in this article. The article goes on to say the inquiry is due to begin in October 2024, but at an initial hearing on the 21st of June, Jack Holborn, a barrister appointed by UK government to represent Yulia and Sergei in the legal process, stated that Yulia and Sergei feared for their safety if they gave evidence to the inquiry because no security measures are perfect, and giving testimony would cause them distress. So they are apparently not going to be taking part in this inquest, and it is an inquest. And we know from previous inquests that any suggestion that the government would hide evidence from them is absolutely valid. Many questions continued needing to be asked of this incident and the accusation that Russia had carried out a chemical weapons attack on British soil. As I say, Tim Norman wrote this article, which is on the UK Column website some time ago in 2022, the day of the Skripal. If you haven't seen this yet, please go and read it and share it. Now, the point of this article is that it is a timeline of all the mainstream. It's basically showing a timeline of all the mainstream coverage of the Skripal case from the beginning to the end. And what comes across very starkly from this timeline is how ridiculous the official narrative of the whole thing is. So we do recommend that you have a look at that. And another article on the UK Column website that we want to point out is, it's not the same one. So apologies for that. Let's see, do we have, no, we don't. So the other one is Alex Thompson's article on RUSI, and if you just search on the UK Column website for a RUSI web, you will see the article, and do have a look at that one as well. But the question we want to end with, as we always do when we talk about the Skripals, is where are they? They disappeared after this. They've never been heard of or seen again. And some people speculating they're in New Zealand, but nobody really knows for sure. And certainly they don't seem to be making an appearance for the forthcoming inquest. Many questions still to be asked on this and answered. But we will have to leave it there for today. I'm going to say thank you very much to Charles and Vanessa for joining us. Plenty to talk about in Extra. If you're not a UK Column member, please consider joining, and joining therefore us for Extra. And we will see everybody that is on Extra in a couple of minutes, but otherwise see you Friday as usual, 1 p.m. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.